Mic test, mic test. We'll be starting the late night number 84 stream shortly, just waiting on a couple of games. Again, I'm your host, PrimeTimeWizardTv. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm very excited for the top cut tonight. When the highest percent played deck in the top cut at the moment is Etern, you know it's gonna be a good night. All right. Our first game of the night. I had to find this one. It's gonna be Etern against Arceus Malamar. Two very interesting decks. Again, meta for the top 8 here at the late night. I believe the meta is 2 Eterns, one Lugia, one Mew, one Lost Box, one Palkia, one Reggie, and Arceus Malamar. So we have a very, very diverse top 8 at the moment. Not the full Lugia top 8 I'm used to in the late night series. So it's going to be an exciting night for sure. Hopefully everyone is tuning in. Hopefully everyone's having a lot of fun. All right, game is about to start. We'll transition over. All right, we have Delok against Keenan Kid. Delok here playing the Arceus Malamar against the Etern on Keenan Kid's side. Keenan opening up the Eternatus V. If you guys aren't familiar with Eternatus VMAX, it does have the... It's basically a giant VMAX Pokemon with 340 HP that hits 30 for each dark. So similar to Mega Rayquaza EX of the past, it very much depends on the bench or your Pokemon, the number of Pokemon in play. But it means you're playing a lot of Pokemon. So you're playing a sort of toolbox style deck. We're also playing Galarian Weezing, You're playing Crobat Vs to draw. You have Drapion for the Mew matchup. But yeah, the goal of the game is going to be, opening up your Weezings when you have to, ability lock your opponent, do severe poison, does a significant amount of damage, and eventually transition to your giant hand Pokemon. We're going to pass... Oh, no, it's still a second Etern now being played. We're going to pass it over to Delok. I'm checking deck list just because both players at the moment are playing very unconventional decks. Then Lock Nguyen here playing Arceus and Malamar with a 1/1 Galarian Weezing line. So they did open up the Coughing, and with the Ascension attack, we'll be able to just go straight into a Galarian Weezing, shutting off Keenan's abilities. However, is that what you need to do? As an Arceus deck, typically turn 1, you'd want to get your Arceus V in play and an attachment for turn. Delock here looking for the Crobat V with the Dark Acid ability, able to refill their hand up to 5. We do see the Arceus V. Do they have the energy attachment for a turn? Something they're looking for is probably DTE, so that they can use the Trinity Charge right off the bat and just power up Malamar VMAX. Again, Malamar VMAX, interesting Pokemon, has a Max Jammer attack for 2 dark and a colorless. Your opponent then reveals their hand and you choose a card you find there and put it to the bottom of their deck. So very powerful attack. You can definitely try and control your opponent that way. It chooses to Ascension into their own Galarian Weezing. So right now, right now Keenan is ability locked. Unfortunately, that means Eternal Zone, which gives Keenan access to 3 extra spots on the bench, is not active. They're gonna have to work with only 2. They do have a research in hand with 2 switches. The 2 switches do have to go here. They're looking for Dark Energy, 130 HP. I believe they'd still have to bench 30, 60, 90, 120. They'd have to bench at least 1 more Pokemon. Not a problem, because we do have Coughing there. The the Forest Seal Stone being attached to the Crobat. They do have access to that. It is an ability, however, it is an ability on a tool, not a Pokemon, so they do have access to that. And we're just going to see the knockout there onto the Weezing. Delock now in a pretty precarious position. I'm sure they wanted the Weezing to slow the E-turn down at least a little bit, but they were able to get the knockout there. And unfortunately, Arceus not quite ready to attack here. They do have the Twin Energy, but Temple of Sinnoh in play means that that double turbo energy is essentially only giving 1 colorless. So they can't Trinity Charge here. They're going to find the Arceus V-Star. Just have to check something real quick in their deck. They do play 1 Raihan. So 1 Raihan here, plus bumping the stadium will give them access to the Trinity Nova attack. There it is. There's the Raihan, able to accelerate energy from the discard pile over onto the Arceus V-Star. Now that Arceus is ready to go, as well as the Path of the Peak. Absolutely huge here. Billowing Smoke. Okay, that's another thing I have to check. A card I've almost never seen here, but Trinity Nova coming in clutch. 180 damage onto that E-turn. And Ability Lock as well. So despite losing the Coughing, Ability Lock is still active. That means still no Crobat Vs, and the Eternal Zone ability is not active. Billowing Smoke. If the Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack your opponent's Pokemon, that player discards any prize cards they would take for that knockout. Interesting. A card I've never seen play, but it makes sense for Delock's control style deck. Again, they're trying to build up a Malamar VMAX, which removes cards from the opponent's hand, hoping that they kind of brick themselves, maybe depending on top decks. If Malamar VMAX goes down, it does give 3 prize cards. So with the Billowing Smoke, denies your opponent 3 cards. In this case, it is Arceus V-Star. So if this Arceus V-Star goes down, you're denying them 2 prize cards. Or see the Crobat there not being played for its ability, but then a second Crobat coming in. Right now, Eternatus, Etern looking for, it's doing 270 damage, but with the Galarian Zigzagoon, does ping the Arceus for 10. So this is going to be a knockout here. Dread and 270 damage plus the 10 on the Zigzagoon is a knockout on the Arceus. They're gonna, I want to see it. Oh, yes, Keenan here's gonna draw 2 prizes, but they go straight to the discard pile. Boss's Orders and Research, 2 pretty big prizes there. And Delock going for the Marnie. Can they find the Malamar VMAX and essentially bring up the lock? We're gonna see the Malamar VMAX come in. Here we go, Max Jammer. They're gonna be able to take a look at Keenan's hand. There's not that much, to be honest, in the hand though. Let's see what they decide to put back. Again, Max Jammer choosing one card is going to be the Ultra Ball. Luckily, Keenan does have a second one in hand, so they will have access to something like a Crobat V, for example. But to be honest, all they need here is an energy attachment for a turn, right? They could choose to attack with the E-turn. They could choose to attack with the Galarian Weezing. Either way, this Malamar in the active isn't going down. All right, 310 HP, a little bit too big for E-turn to deal with. It's going to need like a Choice Belt plus a Zigzagoon, but you already need the bench space for the Crobat. So I think going the Severe Poison route, putting the damage first, as well as establishing an ability lock on your opponent's side of the field may be the play, and that's exactly what Keenan opts to do here. Opting to find the Radiant Sneasler. Radiant Sneasler ups the poison, ups the damage on poison, so it's going to be 6 damage in between turns. That Malamar now has 250 HP, something E-turn can easily deal with, and that's why the only thing they need in hand is that Dark Energy, but Max Jammer is going to be able to deal with that. Looks like they opted to retreat the Malamar, paying the 2 retreat costs, going into the Arceus V here. And just to pass. Interesting play here by Delock. Definitely fearing the knockout on the E-turn. I think that is a great play for sure, because we know for a fact, even if Max Jammer comes into play where they get rid of the Dark Energy in hand, the Forest Seal Stone can easily, grab anything they need from the deck. But right now, because of that retreat, Delock does live here one more turn. Keenan is going to need to find a way to retreat the Weezing, as well as Weezing and a boss wins him the game. However, those are 2 cards. You only get 1 extra card here with the Forest Seal Stone. Do you use the Star Alchemy right now? I think it's an interesting position for sure. I think Severe Poison doesn't really build up your board state. So getting the switch here definitely puts on the pressure on Delock. We're gonna get a Dread End for 270 damage, and as well as going down to 1 prize. And right now, there's no Pokemon that is powered up on Delock's side of the field, and this Malamar can't take a hit from the E-turn. This looks like it's going to be Keenan's game here for game 1 in the top 8 of the late night number 84. Again, with almost 200 players. Not too bad, but we're going to see a Serena here. Serena pass. Crobat, the biggest thing on Keenan's side of the field is going to be an easy attachment to retreat. And that is game 1, ladies and gentlemen. All right, while we wait for the second game here, just something I want to talk about real quick. Again, top 8 here. Very interesting top 8 for the late night. But something we do have to talk about is when you check the metagame, majority of players tonight are new Genesect. So it's no surprise right now that there's a Malamar and two E-turns in the top 8, right? Those are dark decks. Definitely have a good matchup into Mew. So definitely explains the top 8 here. Delock going to start us off. However, Keenan gets pretty much the perfect starter. You do find you're coughing with the Ascension. You have the energy as well. Delock gets their own perfect start, though, with the Arceus V in the active. Can we find the Malamar? There's the Malamar. And a Crobat. Very smart play here. Might as well use the Crobat while you have access to your abilities. You're essentially going to be ability lock the next turn. And we know how much Arceus V-Star depends on the Starbirth ability to find those DTEs. Hopefully, Delock has it in their hand. We're can see a quick ball here from Keenan. Gonna find themselves probably a Crobat of their own. Dark Asset, again, able to draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. They were thinking about using the switch, but they already attached the energy to the active. They do find themselves a Judge. Judge, great card here. Great equalizer. You and your opponent only have 4 cards, but when your opponent also has ability lock to deal with, more likely than not, they're probably not going to have what they need for the next turn. Keenan does find themselves the E-turn. I think exactly what they needed to find here. And it's going to be a quick... They're thinking they have a quick ball in hand, but we're going to need to say that for a Crobat. There we go. We're going to see the Ascension into the Galarian Weezing with the neutralizing gas ability. Again, no abilities if you're a Pokemon V, and that's exactly what Arceus V-Star is, but does find the DTE and Arceus V-Star off the Judge for 4. DeLocke here takes the first knockout of the game, takes a knockout on that Galarian Weezing, only going to take 1 prize, however, but still a great position to be in. Keenan has to find quite a bit. I'm sure they wanted that Temple of Sinnoh a little bit earlier. Definitely could have helped out the last turn there. Gonna go ahead and bench the Drapion. Finds a Crobat V. Gonna draw Dark Asset for the full 6. They need quite a bit. They need the E-turn. They need 8 bench Pokemon, and one of them has to be Galarian Zigzagoon. We're gonna go ahead and put down the Temple of Sinnoh there. Big Parasol, not something that's going to matter in this matchup. I don't think it stops Max Jammer, because that's not an effect on the Pokemon. We're just going to see an Ultra Ball here. They're going to find the E-turn, and Judge is just not enough. I have to guess they're going to find the Eternatus VMAX. There it is. So off the Judge, they're going to need at least an energy just to get an attack off this turn. But I foresee that this Arceus should be A-okay. All right, off the Judge, we do see a Crobat, but Dark Asset is an ability you can only use once a turn. So it's just going to be an attachment to that E-turn. Essentially doing it, you're going to have to 2-shot the Arceus V-Star. Not as explosive as turn 1, but still 150 damage, not too bad there. Back to DeLocke. Again, now they have access to their Starbirth, and it might be a use it or lose it scenario, because that Arceus V-Star is not looking too good at the moment. Should be knocked out in the next couple of turns. DeLocke here opting to go for the Escape Rope instead, though. Escape Rope, again, forcing Keenan to switch something to the active, while DeLocke gets to put something up as well. Keenan choosing the Drapion V. Having to retreat might be... having to retreat might be the harder Pokemon to retreat the next turn, but does have 210 HP. Not the easiest Pokemon to knock out at the moment. I believe Max Jammer only does 180. And now we're going to see that Starbirth come into play. I wonder what 2 cards DeLocke needs at the moment. Right now, he's going to need at least Malamar. I'm checking if they play a Choice Belt, because that could definitely help out here. Oh, they go for the Boss's Orders. Onto the E-turn. So they just wanted to get the Malamar into the active while not having to pay the double turbo, just in case. We're going to see the Quick Ball here. Could find them a second Malamar. No, it's going to be a second Arceus V. Have they already attached for the turn? No, there it is. There's an attachment for turn. It's just going to be a Max Jammer, 180 damage. Get to look at the hand. I think the Crobat might have to go back in here, but luckily Keenan does have Ultra Ball as well. So 2 good choices. But, you know, force Keenan to have to use that Ultra Ball if they want to use Dark Asset. And ooh, very, very tough here, because if you're gonna use this Ultra Ball, you're gonna lose an E-turn and the Eternatus VMAX. And let's see if Keenan can find himself another Eater. So they play a 3-3 line. They still should have access to 1-1. Big decision here between Judge and Research. If they use a Judge, your opponent only has one card in hand. Looks like they're gonna go for the Research here, I believe. I think losing the boss's orders might be a-okay. You do want to chase down the Arceus V-Star later in the match, but all right. So we do find the Forest Seal Stone, so they can have access to anything they need. I was checking if they had Choice Belt themselves here, because then Etern could be doing 300 damage, plus the Zigzagoon is a knockout there on the Malamar. But no Choice Belt, however. I'm sure Keenan's thinking, man, if I was playing Malamar instead, just get rid of that one card in the hand. Could be good. Looks like it's just going to be a Dread and for damage, not a knockout. They're going to need a Dark Patch plus an attachment plus another E-turn. It's looking rough here. And as we get back to Delok, let's see what they can find. Sharon's Care picks up the Arceus V-Star on the bench. And just like that, pretty healthy Arceus now. Almost powered up. There's just a Temple of Sinnoh. But we're going to see a Max Jammer here for the knockout on the E-turn. That means the Eternal Zone ability is no longer active. And you're going to have to discard your bench. Gonna have to lose a couple of Crobats. I have to assume the Ultra Ball gets shuffled in as well. I mean, this is exactly the position Delok needs to be in to take this game. Forcing Keenan to essentially top deck Research potentially, or at least a usable supporter. It's gonna be a Dark Energy. Oh, but we do still have access to Forest Seal Stone. That means they still get to get anything they want from the deck there. Energy does help there. It is going to be a knockout on their ability lock, which is not too bad. Question is, do you use a Forest Seal Stone now? I mean, if the opponent has boss the next turn, that could be game here. So I assume you'd want to at least try and Judge. Maybe if you play Roxanne, do they play Roxanne? No Roxanne, so you just Judge or Research. Yes, we're gonna see the Stark Alchemy right now. No more Judge in the deck. Have one boss's orders left. Not too many resources remaining here. Very, very tough position. They still have an E-turn, but their damage output is definitely limited. With only one Zigzagoon left at max, they could probably do 210 damage with 6 Pokemon on the bench there. There it is. Big Research here. And I think the best hope that Keenan has is that the Temple of Sinnoh sticks on the field, right? If Temple of Sinnoh sticks and Delok doesn't have an energy to attach, that Arceus can't attack this next turn. But we do see Delok just promote the Arceus V. Do they have the energy? Do they have the stadium to bump? They don't have access to Starbirth because they've already used it. They don't have any access to any Pokemon V ability thanks to any ability thanks to Galarian Weezing. We're going to see a Quick Ball here. Just real quick, Dark Patch in hand for Keenan is absolutely huge. Just in case this Weezing goes down, there is still the potential that the E-turn on the bench can attack this next turn. Delok going for the Bidoof here. And the energy, we do see an energy attachment, so that's going to be attack Trinity Nova for the knockout. Delok is one prize away from taking this game. If they had the boss's orders in hand, that definitely would have helped out. Keenan has to take 3 more prizes, but with only Arceus V-Stars, Crobat, no big 3. They can't win this next turn. There's no VMAX in play for Delok's side of the field here. Keenan's looks like they're going into the coughing. Doesn't matter what they go into, they do have access to the switch. Dark Patch means they do have to use it while the Etern is on the bench. They should have an attack here, however. We're not taking a knockout on the Arceus. And with only one boss in deck, which they already have in hand, it's going to take them at least 3 turns to win here. Whereas if they had 2 bosses orders to work with, for example, they could target down the Crobat and the Bibarel. I'm sure right now the Bidoof. The Bidoof is actually looking like a pretty good target, because if Dog finds himself a boss, they win this game. At the same time, you don't have any more attackers. After this E-turn, there's nothing else you can power up. All right, we're going to see Hiding Dark should work here. E-turn, luckily, Dread End requires a Dark and a Colorless. And we're going to see the switch here. And it's just going to be a Dread End trying to 2-shot the Arceus. Zigzagoon being played. 10 extra damage. Not quite sure where it matters, but it's going to be onto the Arceus V. How much damage are they doing? 200. This should be 210. Looks like they opt for... Oh, no, sorry. It's 180. Taking a knockout there on the Crobat. There's another boss's orders from the prizes. Absolutely huge here. So Deloc, forcing Deloc to win this turn. If E-turn takes a hit, it is going to be Keenan's game. So absolutely huge pick. Huge prize count. Huge prize there. You see the bumping it into Path of Fate. We see an Ultra Ball. And just like I said, that Bibarel is going to come in clutch here. Again, Industrious Incisors allows the lock to draw up to 5. And with a 0-card hand, however, still 30 cards in deck. If they can find a boss's orders, they essentially take this pick to game. And we're going to go to a game 3 here. Do they have it? I don't think they do. If they had it, they would have just slapped it down right here, right now. Raihan's not going to be boss's orders. Do you have a scoop up net? You need to get that Bibarel out of harm's way. I don't think they play something like that in the deck, however. Is there anything? I'm just looking at deck list at the moment. No, it's just going to be a Trinity Nova. 180 damage on that E-turn, and just like that, Keenan here. Yes, all it takes is that boss's orders on the Bibarel with 1 prize remaining. Dread and takes the last prize. Keenan is going to advance to the semifinal here at the late night number 84. That much closer to Yokohama, Japan. Congratulations to Keenan. E-turn in the top 4. Absolutely huge. Give me a sec while I try to find another game here. We'll be right back. And I apologize. I don't have my camera set up at the moment. Currently traveling. I don't have the most optimal setup here. So I'm just going to take this chance to talk about the game. I don't have a casting desk on me. But yeah, very interesting matchup. I 100% believe that the Malamar player was able to come back. But again, just Keenan able to realize what he needed to do. Taking a knockout on that Crobat gives it the best best chance to draw the bosses off the prizes. Looks like we're just going straight to a top 4 game here. Keenan still going to watch from Keenan's point of view, and he's going to go up against Victor A. All right, so we know Keenan here playing the Eternatus VMAX with Galarian Weezing, and he's going to be up against Victor A. Victor A playing the Lost Box here with a 1/1 line of Aerodactyl V-Star. Very interesting decks being played right now in the late night. Looks like Keenan going to start themselves with a Crobat. That happens more often than not, especially when you play 4 Crobat Vs, while Purposeful here going to start with the Sableye. Something I do want to check. Give me 1 second. Victor does play 1 fighting energy, so they can opt to attack with the Aerodactyl V-Star, which should be very big. All right, looks like Keenan only getting the attachment there onto the Crobat, not much else, which is unfortunate. We're going to go back now to Victor. Victor opening up the Chorus Experiment, not too bad. Again, great supporter. Great supporter you want in the Lost Box deck, able to facilitate the Lost Zone and your hand. Essentially, you look at top 5 cards, send 2 to the Lost Zone, 3 to the hand. Looks like a very tough decision here from Victor. Something I'm sure they want to find is something like a... I'm double checking. They have battle VIP pass for sure. Try and establish the board. And now it looks like we're gonna have a quick ball. Finding a Comfey, looks like a 4 Seal Stone hitting the Lost Zone there. They do play 2. That could be big. You could use the Aerodactyl V-Star ability in this matchup. Essentially, lock Keenan away from Crobat V, from Dark Asset, as well as the Eternal Zone ability. That could be big. However, I really do think you want to attack with Aerodactyl in this matchup. So you might want to keep it out of harm's way there. Looks like Keenan going for the Judge. All they need here is a Dark Energy to really establish a Coughing, because that's going to be the key card for this matchup as well. Galarian Weezing just slows down Lost Box so much. You're denying them access to your Flower Selecting, to the concealed cards. And after a Judge, they essentially only have 4 cards to work with. Majority of their deck are switch out options, right? Scoop Up Net, Switches, Escape Ropes. That's not going to help them draw while under ability lock. Well, Escape Rope will, just because there's only one Weezing in play. But Keenan here identifying what the win condition is, opts to grab another Coughing there. Oh, but looks like they're just going to go for the Venomous Fang instead, doing 70 damage, taking knockout there on the Comfey. Not every day you see Crobat V attack, but 70 damage just enough to take the knockout there, putting on the pressure here on Victor. Victor does find the Chorus Experiment. Luckily, that means they do have abilities to work with. All right, sending the Manaphy and the Hisuian Heavy Ball to the Lost Zone. 2 cards, not going to be too useful in this matchup. Well, maybe Hisuian Heavy Ball if there's anything important prized. But we're going to see a Flower Selecting here. I believe this should be 2, 4, 5, 6. 6 cards on the Lost Zone at the moment. 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're going to need at least 1 more if they want to use Mirage Gate. Wait. We see a scoop up net onto that second Comfey, so we're going to see Flower selecting once again. Again, something they could do here is find themselves that Aerodactyl V and just attack with that, or the Dragonite V. So two viable attackers that could come out right now and just swing the game, take a knockout on a 2-prize Pokemon. And once your Pokemon's pretty much set up with the Mirage Gate, you don't really need your abilities too much. So Weezing is less of a problem. Yes, you definitely want to try and set up your Pokemon V this turn. Dragonite V with a Dragon Gale attack does 250 damage, enough to take a knockout there. I'm double checking here what Aerodactyl V's attack is. Rock Crush for 120 damage that's enough as well. That's enough to take a knockout on a Crobat V, which is weak to fighting there. Victor, I think, recognizes this, finds the Aerodactyl, gets the attachment for a turn. Do we see the Mirage Gate? Mirage Gate and a switch could be absolutely huge here. 5-card hand. They were able to chorus. They were able to use Comfey a couple of times. Looks like they're just going to go ahead and retreat to the Radiant Greninja. And just to pass, Radiant Greninja, 130 HP. Something Crobat doesn't have the ability to deal with at the moment. Keenan here just opting to use Dark Asset, draw a couple more. They still have to establish themselves an E-turn. They do have a Quick Ball. Tough decision though, what to discard. You're going to need the Ultra Ball for another Crobat if you're to draw out of this essentially. You could find yourself Hisnean Sneasler. But if you bench anything that's not E-turn, that means you only have 5 bench to work with the entire game. Looks like they're going to go ahead and discard the Dark Patch, finding the Hisuian Sneasler. That's it. We're only going to be playing with these 5 bench Pokemon. Really identifying that Weezing is the goal. You know, that's how important neutralizing Gas Weezing is. And with 2 in play, Escape Rope no longer an option. Could slow down Victor here, but does find themselves a Colress Experiment. That's definitely something you can play under Ability Lock. All they need to find, they need a couple of things, right? They need a way to switch, a double Turbo Energy, which they don't play, Mirage Gate, and that's it. It's not too much. 2 cards off the Chorus. Can they find it here? If not, they still have time to work with. Again, Galarian Weezing, it is putting pressure, but not the biggest amount. I mean, Radiant Greninja should be able to survive at least this next turn. They could use a Forest Seal Stone here. Forest Seal Stone does mean you use your V-Star ability. There it is, Star Alchemy. Let's see what they're going to find. Mirage Gate and the switch. That's all they need to put in the pressure. Hopefully they have both pieces now. We're going to see the Mirage Gate attaching a Psychic and a Water Energy. An attachment to the Radiant Greninja. And we're going to see a Rock Crush here for 240 damage. And with no Eternatus in play, there's no way to deal with this Aerodactyl. And Aerodactyl is in this deck for the... give me a sec. For the V-Star power that stops your opponents from using V-Star abilities. Ancient Star, that's what it was called, Ancient Star. So that it's essentially played specifically for that in something like the Lugia matchup, but the typing definitely coming in clutch. Keenan here forced to use this Ultra Ball. what do they find? They can use Crobat to try and draw out of this, but again, that means your bench is full. You can't play any E-turn. And there's no other Pokemon that can deal with Aerodactyl. We do see an attachment there onto the Weezing. But again, 60 damage. It's going to take at least 4 turns to try and deal with the Aerodactyl here. Back to Victor. They can try and set up a secondary attacker just in case the Aerodactyl does go down. But they have time to do that. Escape Rope is going to get rid of the poison. Not too bad. As well as give them access to abilities if they choose so. Definitely forcing Keenan into a tough spot as well, right? Yes, Galarian Weezing is technically their only attacker in play. But right now, then, Keenan has to choose between giving up 2 prizes or giving up the Radiant Sneasler, which boosts damage. Looks like they're going to opt for giving up the Hisuian Sneasler. Leminion V does find themselves another Chorus's Experiment here. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, so Chorus Experiment netting them three more cards in hand. And it's... The next question is, they can opt to attack with a Sableye now, I believe. If my lost zone count is correct. But, sometimes just taking knockout, not too bad either. Maybe they could even go into the Aerodactyl and V-Star if they choose to do so, but it's just going to be a pass. Interesting why they would pass in this position. Could they have disconnected? Keenan just passes as well. Looks like they didn't have any energy to attach there. Back to Victor here. I just have to assume Victor is AFK or did disconnect, because it's very interesting why they didn't choose to attack for 2 turns now. They should deck out first as well. I'm trying to think if there's a play I'm not seeing here, but you definitely have to take prizes to win the game. We do see a Judge being played now. They do have some stuff to work with. They have a Forest Seal Stone for themselves. They can choose to attack with the Crobat again if they choose to do so. But right now, I think it might just have to be a retreat to the Galarian Weezing, which isn't too bad. They can choose to use the Forest Seal Stone. Not quite sure what they need to find, though. It might just have to be an attachment to the Sneasler and attack with the Weezing, I believe. Trying to think if there's any other plays they could play. Again, having 4 Crobat on the bench without E-turn in play definitely puts them in a very, very bad position here. They don't really have access to the big attackers they want. And, Ability Lock not helping out too much when there's already an Aerodactyl V in play. We're going to see a severe poison back to Keenan. Let's see if they're back. Looks like they are opting to retreat to the second Comfey. I'm curious why they aren't attacking with the Aerodactyls, actually. What is... They could be waiting for a specific moment here. Again, they should deck out first. They only have 8 cards left in the deck, while Keenan does still have 26. We're going to see a severe poison here onto the Comfey. Back to Victor. Do they have a way to switch out? Do they have a scoop up net trying to negate the damage done that turn? We're going to see the scoop up net. Are we going into the Aerodactyl? Are we going to the Sableye? We could go into absolutely anything. Luminion could even attack here if they have access to Mirage Gate. And here we go. Rock Crush taking the knockout. Going down to 4 prizes. And again, Keenan here just in a position where he doesn't have an attacker. They do have access to Forest Seal Stone. They might have to give up the Crobat. Might have to give up 2 prizes here and try and set up an E-turn. We're going to see the Star Alchemy now. Could find them the E-turn right off the bat. Could go for the Judge instead. Looks like they're going to go for the Judge. They still have plenty of ways to get that E-turn in play. However, they're going to have to draw into the E-turn and an attachment for turn off just 4 cards. And with no more access to Crobat V, that's all you're getting here. 4 cards does find themselves the E-turn, but no energy attachment for turn. That means it forcing them to get the... forcing them to get the Dark Patch the following turn. You can see a retreat there to the Radiant Sneasler. If Victor has Boss here, they can try and boss up literally the only threat in play, which could be absolutely huge. At the same time, an escape rope could be big. Just take 2 prizes. Because right now, Radiant Sleezer doesn't do too much. Takes 1 prize, puts them at the odd prize. But it looks like it's just going to be a Rock Crush there for the knockout. Back to Keenan. Keenan, again, needs quite a bit. He's going to need the Dark Patch. He's going to need an Energy. He's going to need a way to switch. And an Eternatus VMAX. We do see the Eternatus VMAX. Taking a knockout here on the Aerodactyl is an absolute must. We're going to see the Zigzagoon as well, taking an extra prize, or taking a knockout on the Comfey. Taking a prize there. We're going to see quite a bit, but I don't think we're there. Again, missing the energy attachment the previous turn definitely hurt there. Could just be a pass here. Again, we do have Ultra Ball, but all 4 Crobats are already in play. There's no way to draw here. This Aerodactyl just putting up a clinic. And it's just going to be a switch on to the Galarian Zigzagoon. And that might just be it. Very rough hand here for Keenan. They need to top deck into a supporter or at least the energy this next turn. Can Victor close it out? Again, they're down to 3 prizes. If they can evolve into the Aerodactyl V-Star and get the boss's orders, that is going to be game here. We're going to see a Quick Ball now. Quick Ball finding themselves the Drapion. Drapion not quite going to do anything in this matchup. So probably just thinning out the deck. They have 7 cards left in the deck. You just have to think that those are pretty good 7 cards. Again, they haven't. I believe they've only used 1 Mirage Gate. If they take this knockout, they'd have to set up Dragonite V to take a knockout on a Crobat. It's interesting here. Again, Victor only has 7 7 cards remaining. You're gonna play a Mirage Gate there, just getting energy into that Sableye. You have to think, does he have enough resources to close it out? I think that's Keenan's only way to victory here, is running Victor out of resources. If they take a knockout on this Aerodactyl, looks like they're going to opt to retreat the Aerodactyl, however. Very interesting here. They could take a knockout on the Zigzagoon and then set themselves up for success by putting damage onto the Crobat. Very, very big here, forcing Keenan's hand to have the boss and the energy if they want to take a knockout on the Aerodactyl. And here we're going to see Lost Mine. Again, Lost Mine puts 10 damage counters on anywhere on the field. We're going to see a knockout there on the Zigzagoon and 5 damage counters placed now onto that Crobat. Crobat now down to 130 HP. Not quite in Lost Mine range, but Galarian Zigzagoon can definitely help out with the numbers there. Which they do not play. I'm just double checking Victor's list here. They don't have access to Galarian Zigzagoon, so Sableye shouldn't take a knockout on that Crobat. We're gonna see just a quick ball here. Looks like Keenan doesn't have it. They needed to draw an energy that turn. It had to be energy. That had to be the top deck because they don't have access to Crobat. There's no more access to draw. This might just be a concede into game 2. Not much they can do here. They could try and boss up the Luminion. Maybe try and boss Sol Victor. That could be an option. But again, it's hoping that Lost Box doesn't have a switch. Probably not too likely. Looks like we're going to see an Ultra Ball here, finding themselves a Coughing. That's exactly what we're going to see. We're going to see a switch there on to the... a boss's orders onto the Luminion. They're debating about using this switch. They could switch to the Coughing, but then they would have to find a switch back. Here we're looking through the deck. It's like we are just going to go ahead and switch to the Coughing, forcing Victor to have the boss and the switch out and the energy to close this one out here. Okay, it's just a matter of, do you have resources? With Clara, definitely gives you more resources, gets back a Sableye and 2 energies. Just see an attachment there onto the Sableye. Do they have a switch for the Luminion? They do have the switch card as well here. So boss stalling, not an option, because they also have the energy in hand. We also have, you see the Aerodactyl V-Star now. So nothing can stand in the way of this. Nothing can stand in the way of the Aerodactyl V-Star in the E-Turn deck, unfortunately. Even 340 HP V-Maxes, when you're weak to fighting, doesn't quite help out. We're going to see the Lost Mine not even take a knockout on the Coughing. Essentially checkmating here, because even if they take a knockout on the Crobat, they can easily go into the Aerodactyl, or sorry, if they could easily, even if they take a knockout on the Sableye, they could easily go into a second Sableye that is already set up. And just like that, Victor takes game 1 of the top 4 here at the late night series, late night event. And again, now Keenan has to make a couple of adjustments if they want to win this game. They really do have to set up an Eternatus VMAX, even if a Galarian Weezing seems very, very tempting. Again, Galarian Weezing definitely the best early game attacker, right? Try and slow down your opponent, especially since you're Lost Box. Don't give them access to your flower selecting, and maybe attacking with a Crobat a little bit too greedy there. But I understand putting in the pressure, but Yes, let's go ahead. And you know, that's the only Pokemon they had to work with at the time. Starting Crobat, not the best. This time starting out the Galarian Zigzagoon instead. A little bit better. Something that means you still have access to your dark asset if you wanted to. We're gonna see an Ultra Ball here, discarding the... Tough choice here, actually. I think you discard the Judge, because not too usable at the moment. Find yourself maybe... You can find yourself E-turn just so you have an... Oh, yeah, just so you have an energy attachment. Make that ready for the next turn, just in case Aerodactyl comes down. And more likely than not, you should be able to find yourself a Weezing. Looks like you don't. We don't, however. That would have been the perfect turn where if they were able to get both E-turn and Galarian Coughing into play. Victor opening up with the Battle VIP Pass. You just know if you're opening up Battle VIP Pass, you're going to have a good time. A card that can only be played on the very, very first turn. Finding themselves two basic Pokemon. Just have to think what two Pokemon they'd want to establish. Definitely Comfey. Sometimes it's double Comfey, but maybe finding that Aerodactyl V early just to threaten it. Because again, it's a one-off. Not the easiest thing to find in the deck. But it's going to be the double Comfey just to get that Comfey train going. Do we see a switch? Second Battle VIP Pass being played. Not a bad start at all. Getting the Cramorant into play now. Cramorant with the Spit instantly attack. There's 4 cards in the Lost Zone. That's attacking for free. We're going to see a Concealed cards discarding the Fighting Energy. Again, Victor only plays one Fighting Energy, so that they're going to need to find an Ordinary Rod or possibly a Clara if they wanted to attack with that. Does use the Scoop Up, that discarding the Lightning Energy this time, and we're going to see a Flower selecting. Can we get to 4 cards in the Lost Zone with Chorus's help? That could be the case. Again, they're going to need a way to switch. 2 ways to switch, and that should do it. And if Lost Box is known for one thing, is playing multiple switch out options. All right, let's just see. Does Victor have it here? 3 cards in the Lost Zone. They still have a second Comfey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 cards in hand. That's a pretty big hand. You have to assume they do have a way to switch. Taking a knockout here on the Galarian Zigzagoon. Going down to 5 could be big. That just means you take a knockout on an E-turn and a Crobat to close it out. Third Battle VIP Pass now being played. That's all the Battle VIP passes. 3 in the discard, 1 in the Lost Zone. Sometimes that's a good thing, but sometimes that could also be a bad thing here for the Lost Box player. That means that means when you use your Flower selecting, when you use your Choruses, there's only good cards in the deck. Sometimes makes decisions a lot harder. We're going to see an Escape Rope here. Escape Rope putting that Galarian Zigzagoon out of harm's way. And with the Air Balloon, we're going to see the Spit innocently for 110 damage onto that Crobat. Not quite a knockout. Crobat has 180 HP. But maybe something Victor can clean up with a Sableye later in the game. We're going to see another E-turn benched here. Switch being played as well. They're going to need to find a VMAX. They have Judge. Judge is a great support in this position, especially when your opponent has an absolutely huge hand. Let's just hope they can find themselves the E-turn on the other side of that Judge. But no, it's going to be the Dark Asset being played first here. So now Judge only option. They didn't draw an E-turn. Instead, we're going to go ahead and research here, really prioritizing the fact that we need the Eternatus VMAX to take a knockout, leaving Victor with that big hand could be very, very scary. We're going to see the E-turn, though. Eternal Zone now active. That means we have 8 benches, 8 bench spaces to work with. Benches another Galarian Weezing. We're just gonna see a Dread End here for the knockout on to the Cramorant, going down to 5. Again, that's the tough position here. That's the tough thing sometimes about playing against Lost Boxes. You're only taking 1 prize per turn. If you're only knocking out a Cramorant, if they don't play their Pokemon Vs, and at the same time you're attacking with an Eternatus VMAX, which gives up 3 prizes. And let's see if Victor can take this knockout. Again, Colress Experiment definitely helps out here. We did see the Ordinary Rod shuffle back in the Fighting Energy. So if they can find themselves a Mirage Gate, an attachment for a turn, a Switch, and the Aerodactyl V-Star, that's going to be a knockout on a VMAX. We're going to see the Mirage Gate here. Again, absolutely huge hand. Off. They do get the attachment. Do they have the Aerodactyl V-Star? If not, they're only doing 240 damage. Not quite the knockout, but still a sizable amount of damage onto the E-turn. And we're going to see it. There's the Aerodactyl V-Star. Again, Lost Dive does 240 damage and does take a knockout on the E-turn. Again, E-turn had to be played just to take a knockout on a 1 prize Pokemon, just to take a knockout on a Cramorant. And now there's this big Aerodactyl V-Star they have to deal with that is pretty tough, especially when you have to limit your bench. Since the Eternal Zone is not in play, they're going to need a Dark Patch, a Dark Energy, the VMAX, and to refill up the bench if they want to deal with the Aerodactyl. It's a possibility, right? Aerodactyl V-Star only has 260 HP, definitely within range for Eternatus. And they do have access to this Crobat, but no other supporter. Do you play this Quick Ball, thinning out another boss's orders in hand? Again, I think it's absolutely imperative that this Aerodactyl gets knocked out. Here we're going to see Dark Asset. Not too much here. They can go for boss's orders, try and stall them out. But might just be a pass, leaving the Galarian Weezing. They didn't even get an attachment for a turn. That's something they definitely need as well. So we are going to see the boss's orders for that Radiant Greninja. But again, the Lost Box just has such a big hand. You just have to think that they have, in that hand of 10 cards, there has to be a switch out. We see a Quick Ball here, finding themselves a Crobat for the next turn. Just a pass here back to Victor. If Victor can find a way to switch and to boss out the E-turn, that could definitely put him in an absolutely great spot. Even if they just find the switch, taking a prize here puts them down to 2. That means all they have to do is knock out a Crobat, and they will be able to advance to the finals here at tonight's late night. And with Mirage Gate, they should be able to retreat here, or they could even just attack with the Radiant Greninja. It looks like they are opting to just find a... There it is. There's a second Mirage Gate now being played, getting an attachment onto that Sableye. Not too bad here. You can do 90 damage, take a knockout on the Galarian Zigzagoon, as well as keeping your Aerodactyl V-Star out of harm's way. Oh, something I just caught from chat. There's no VMAX in play. There's no more VMAX in the deck. That's something I didn't quite check. I didn't quite see. If there's no more VMAX, I don't know how you can win in this position. There's no way to deal with the Aerodactyl. It is. We're going to see the Moonlight Shuriken taking a knockout there on the Galarian Zigzagoon, as well as putting the Crobat within Sableye range. So they could attack with a Sableye. They could attack even with the Radiant Greninja. Definitely not the spot you want to be in. And again, Etern only plays dark Pokemon. That means they don't have the luxury to play something like a Manaphy with the bench barrier ability. This might just be it here. They do bump the stadium. Play the Crobat. We do see a Dark Patch onto the Etern. But again, is not quite sure what you can do. The Sableye threatens game. The Aerodactyl threatens game. The Radiant Greninja threatens game. 3 cards threaten game there, and they're just gonna go ahead and concede. And Victor is gonna go to the finals in tonight's late night. Let's head back here real quick while I find another game. But huge congratulations to to Keenan for piloting Etern to a top 4 finish. Not something you see every day for sure. Let me see what other games we have here. But again, it just shows the dominance of leaving Lost Box in check, right? If you leave them with that big of a hand, they typically have whatever they need with the amount of switches or with the amount of ways they can really dig through the deck. Lost Box just sometimes has the answer. But that's why we play Galarian Reason, right? That's why we play the Judge. But, sometimes they just have it. And sometimes you don't get that great start. They do play multiple Coughing, but again, with so many Pokemon in the deck, very hard to get that just the absolutely perfect start. All right, looks like finals has been decided, and it's going to be Lost Box against Lugia V-Star. Lugia V-Star did not dominate the top 8, but still able to find themselves in the finals. All right, it's going to be Victor playing the Lost Box against Selen's Lugia deck. Let's see how it plays. Looks like Selen is going to start us out here. The Aerodactyl V could potentially be the MVP once again. But again, it's something you do want to play going first, right? If you're going second, they should be able to get access to the Summoning Star ability. We do see an Ultra Ball discarding an Arceus and the Luminion V. Just have to say, is this best art printing though of the Ultra Ball. Plasma Freeze, absolutely love it. We're gonna see the powerful energy getting attached as well to the Stoutland. Stoutland definitely puts in a lot of pressure on the Lost Box. And looking at Victor's hand, they do have a Chorus to work with. They're debating benching the Manaphy just in case Raikou gets played. And they still have access to cards, opting to play the Level Ball here. Something they just have to do here is just get more cards in the Lost Zone. Stoutland is very, very scary. So maybe if they can attack with something like a Sableye, that would be absolutely huge. Or even it's not out of the realm of possibility where they get a turn 1 Mirage Gate and just attack with the Aerodactyl, for example, to take a knockout on the Stoutland. That would be absolutely huge for sure. We're gonna see Battle VIP Pass coming in now. Have to assume that this is going to find themselves 2 Comfeys. Now it's gonna be Comfey and the Radiant Greninja just to get that draw with the Concealed Cards ability. Let's see what they find. They do find themselves an Escape Rope. That's one way to get the Sableye out of the active there. They can't quite do a Comfey train just because there is only one Comfey in play. They do draw the Lost Vacuum, however. They could opt to attach the Air Balloon and Lost Vacuum it, for example. That is definitely a way to get 2 more cards into the loss zone, but without bench space for something like a Cramorant, there's no real reason to do that. Back to Selene here. They just need to get the Aerodactyl. Sorry, they need to get Archeops. Wrong ancient Pokemon there. Looks like they're gonna find themselves an Aerodactyl. The Archeops. Getting them a little bit confused. Do they have a way to discard it? Yes, they do. Do they have the Ultra Ball? Looks like it's gonna be a Marnie. Absolutely huge Marnie here. If they don't get the Aerodactyl, if they don't get the Lugia V-Star, things could get very, very problematic. But with Evolution Incense, should guarantee it here. There it is. We're gonna see the Summoning Star ability. I have to say is just the most powerful V-Star ability in the current format. Again, a Lugia V-Star, definitely one of the best decks in format. We're gonna see the Primal Turbo now powering up the Stoutland on the bench with 3 powerful energies. That Stoutland is a force to wait, they could also attack with the Lugia V-Star if they choose to, but no, they do pay the retreat there. And yes, Stoutland V with 3 powerful energies is essentially doing 100 damage, double dip fangs. If you take a knockout on a basic, you do take an extra prize there. And back to Keenan. Something they have to do here, they just have to attack with the Aerodactyl. The Aerodactyl or the Dragonite are the only Pokemon that can deal with the Stoutland. Stoutland, if left unchecked, could definitely run away with the game. Gonna see a Flower selecting here. 2 not too great options to choose from. And yeah, just might have to concede this one. And at least you're going first the next game. That means Aerodactyl Ancient Star ability is on the table. All right, now this is game 2. All right, Lugia player does start with the Radiant Charizard. Not the most ideal starter, is a little bit on the heavy side there. Has 3 retreat. And we do see the Aerodactyl Vs. The V-Star in the deck didn't quite get to see. I don't think it is. Aerodactyl V is in the deck. I believe the Aerodactyl V-Star is prize. That is the risk sometimes of playing a 1-1 line. Just going through the deck real quick, trying to determine what resources we have to work with. Is it even worth putting down the Aerodactyl at this point? So since we know exactly what's in our prizes. Something they could do instead is they could probably try and set up maybe Dragonite or Zeraora to take a knockout on the Lugia, potentially. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and grab the Radiant Greninja and the Comfey. We're just going to play vanilla Lost Box here. Absolutely heartbreaking for Aerodactyl V-Star to be in the prizes. Something I'm sure you want. I'm sure Victor was looking for. See a couple of flower selectings now. Grabbing the training court, definitely a big card there. Might just have to be a pass here. Not much else we can do this first turn, but this next turn could be big, especially with Lost Vacuum, with Chorus Experiment in hand. There's a lot of ways to power up the Lost Zone to really get those Mirage Gates going. Grabbing the Zera Aura as well here. Again, a Zera Aura from Vivid Voltage does have the Fighting Lightning attack. If your opponent's active Pokemon's a Pokemon V or GX, it does do exactly 110 damage, which is just enough to take a knockout on something like a Lugia, for example. So that could be big. If there's only one Lugia being played. All right, so Len here does find the Oranguru, does get the Capture Energy attachment there. Capture Energy, again, gets them any basic Pokemon they want. Does find the Lugia. Can they find a second one? Getting a second one, or maybe a Dunsparce in play could be big. No, it's going to be a pass, and we do see a window of opportunity here for Victor. They can get themselves a Boss's Orders and an attachment for turn. They could take a knockout on the Lugia. They do need to switch out as well, though. Looks like opting to grab the Water Energy there. They do have a flower selecting to work with. They do get a switch card. They should be able to get it here. I know there's a Luminion in the deck. The next question is, actually, did I see it? Excuse me, they don't play Boss's Orders. So definitely not an option here. They don't have a way to gust up the Lugia V. Best thing they can do here is maybe attack with the Cramorant already in hand. Maybe even try and set up Sableye to get a knockout. Maybe the Oranguru forcing Selen to just with only their top deck. See the Lost Vacuum now being played, sending the Air Balloon to the Lost Zone. Mirage Gate now active here. Mirage Gate getting the attachment there on to the Radiant Greninja. Could go for the concealed card to get a knockout on the Radiant Charizard as well. That is definitely an option here. Gonna see Energy Recycler being played now, only for 2 energy though. And we're gonna see the Mirage Gate once again. Lightning Energy being attached to the Comfey, now free to retreat to the Radiant Greninja. Sableye now being played as well there. We're going to see the retreat to the Radiant Greninja. Have they concealed cards already? I think they have. So right now, only Moonlight Shuriken for the knockout on the Radiant Charizard, since it is weak to water there. Putting very good damage onto the Lugia V, actually. That 90 damage definitely is going to come in clutch, just because Now they could potentially clean it up with the Zeraora on the next turn if they can't find the Dunsparce. You see the Primate Wisdom coming in. They don't quite have anything to discard yet, however. This Ultra Ball could change it all, though. Do we see double Archeops? I don't think I even saw an Archeops. Now it's going to be a Radiant Charizard and the Choice Belt, finding the Luminion. This has to be a big Luminion. Lost Vacuum now being played as well, getting rid of the Training Cord. Absolutely huge. And Luminion V should find them a Research. Discarding the Aurora Energy. It's going to have to be the perfect hand here. It has to be double Archeops, Ultra Ball. Even getting maybe one Archeops wouldn't be too bad. But let's see what they have to work with. Do see the Ultra Ball here. Ultra Ball does find themselves the Lugia V-Star. Wait, did I miss? Did they get double Archeops? I believe, yeah, no, it's only one Archeops. Primal Turbo, they could attack with the Lugia if they have two double Turbo energies in the deck, or even one and an attachment for turn. Yes, two double turbos there now being attached to the Lugia. Stoutland as well being benched, and the Amazing Rare Raikou. Two great Pokemon in this matchup, but just going to be a Tempest Dive there for the knockout. Zeraora should be able to clean this out here. Again, finishing up the work done from the Radiant Greninja. Next question is, you have to set yourselves up for success. Finding that Manaphy is definitely big for that. They are going to lose the Dragonite and a Mirage Gate, though. They've already used two, so I would... Yeah, Mirage Gate, probably the better choice there. Losing to Dragonite is big, too, just because Stoutland could come in. Again, maybe prioritizing the Dragonite. They do already have a Mirage Gate in hand, so they can power that up fairly easily. They also have access to Aerodactyl in the deck, though, which they can still attack with. You're going to see the Manaphy being played absolutely huge, protecting them, protecting the bench there from the Amazing Rare Raikou. There it is, Fighting Lightning for 220 damage, enough to take a knockout there on to the Lugia. And Victor now down to 3 prizes here. If once they take a knockout on the Stoutland, they're essentially one attack away from winning the game. So I think that's why they definitely prioritize grabbing the Dragonite in that position. Do they... And here's the thing as well. With only one Archeops in play, definitely forces the Stoutland to try and have the powerful energy in hand. Unfortunately, Aurora Energy doesn't quite do it here. If they're going to double dip Fangs, they're only double dip Fangs for 80, but grabbing the Manaphy and double dipping Fangs, that will net them 2 prizes here. Going down to 3 as well. Victor here promoting the Comfey. They do have the knockout. No, they have to get a water energy. Yeah, they do. So great flower selecting there. The next question is, they might have to use that Ordinary Rod. Wait, I don't think there's any more lightning in the deck. There's 2 lightning energy right now on that Zeraora. They're gonna have to pick it up, then follow it up with an ordinary rod if they want to attack with this Dragonite here. But if they use the scoop up net, they can't switch out the Comfey, however. Very tough position to be put in. Sky Seal Stone, Forest Seal Stone could definitely help alleviate this position. With the second scoop up net, that should mean they could pick up the Comfey as well as the Zeraora. Definitely the 1-2 combo they need here. All right, and just like that, this Dragonite is actually putting in pressure. Again, doing 250 damage, absolutely huge here. And not the easiest Pokemon to knock out, especially when you don't have access to 2 Archeopses. That means you can't just easily set up an amazing rare Evoltal. You can't just set up Lugia V-Star, especially since there's no Lugia in play at the moment. I'm trying to think. Radiant Charizard might have to be the play to take this knockout. Haven't played the supporter yet, so we do have access to Clara. Let's see, is there anything in the discard pile we really need? I don't think there's anything at the moment, so we could just hold off on the Clara, but we could play it just to get a couple of energies in hand for sure. All right, Dragon's Gale does take this knockout here, as well as doing sizable damage to the bench. There's the Aerodactyl V-Star. However, not quite good this late in the game. But again, goes down to what? Just gonna be a concede there. And just like that, we're going to a game 3. Victor against Celine, 1-1. A Dragonite V, just absolutely huge in that matchup for sure, especially against only 1 Archeops. They could have definitely closed out the game as well, even if that Dragonite goes down with the Sableye. So sometimes even without the Aerodactyl, Lost Box can definitely win the game there. And all right, and now for a sec I thought they had to start with the with a Pokemon V, but luckily they do get the Comfey, which is the ideal start. Gets a mulligan as well. More cards to work with here. All right, Radiant Charizard again, once again in the active. However, going first in the match definitely feels good. Again, you are the you do have to evolve your Lugia Vs into your Lugia V-Stars, as well as getting 1 Archeops already in the discard pile. Not too bad, just a pass there on to Victor. They could attack with a Cramorant this turn, potentially, but unfortunately Cramorant's attack does not apply weakness, so this Charizard should be able to live a turn. A big debate, though, is do you drop the Aerodactyl V? Right, Ancient Star, again, is a game-winning V-Star power. But however, going second, they do have... It's a little bit less appealing. But again, Aerodactyl V-Star is not a bad attacker at all. Something they could possibly do if they can do the miraculous 7 cards in the Lost Zone. They could attack with a Zeraora and Escape Rope to take a knockout on that Lugia. And I think that would be an absolutely game-winning move as well. We have 2 cards now in the Lost Zone with the Colress's Experiment, Battle VIP Pass, finding double Comfey. They could possibly go for it here. They have quite a bit to work with, right? They have some flower selectings. They could grab a Lost Vacuum, for example. That could definitely help out as well with the Forest Seal Stone. See concealed cards here. Something they do want to see is just more scoop up nets, more ways to switch. Flower selecting now coming to play. Finds an Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball could find them more Comfey. They do have the switch card. They could go into that. Again, do you go big here, or do you just grabbing the energy? Probably the safer play there for sure. You can see the scoop up net onto the Comfey. Again, they need multiple things to really get that big knockout play I was talking about, but at the same time, maybe just playing a little bit passively here. Again, Radiant Charizard in the active, not the biggest threat. Could be safe from something like a Stoutland this next turn, unless it's... Right, flower selecting once again. They do get the escape rope. The play is very close. There's 4 cards in the lost zone. They only need 1 more. Sorry, they only need... Wait, is that the 5th card? Can they do it? Yeah, with the Forest Seal... Yeah, that's 5 cards. With the Forest Seal Stone attachment there onto the Aerodactyl, Star Alchemy should find them the Lost Vacuum here. There is the Lightning Energy in the deck. That's what's important. Again, Lost Vacuum to get rid of 1 card in the hand and the Forest Seal Stone. That's going to put you up to 7. There it is, the Lost Vacuum. Just like that, there's 7 cards now in the Lost Zone. Mirage Gate is now active. We're going to see the Mirage Gate attaching the Lightning Energy and whichever energy there could be the Psychic, just because we have more of that. And with the Escape Rope, fighting Lightning, again, doing 220 damage is enough to take a knockout on the Lugia V. So there's no Summoning Star happening this next turn. However, since the V-Star ability or V-Star power has been used, again, Victor had to use Star Alchemy. That means Ancient Star can't be played. So Celine does have some time to work with. They will be able to use Summoning Star eventually if they can set up at least a Lugia V-Star, maybe a Lugia V-Star and another Pokemon just to save yourself from an escape rope. And back to Celine again. All they have is this Radiant Charizard. Absolutely huge play here again from Victor, and these are the types of plays sometimes you just have to go for in a game 3 scenario, especially against Lugia V-Star. Lugia V-Star, one of the most oppressive decks. It's an absolutely powerful deck when it gets set up. So really, one of the ways to stop it from winning is stopping it from setting up. We're gonna see the Serena there discarding the Lugia V-Star, drawing 5 cards, but they can't get a second Pokemon. Could get very scary real quick. That means 1 more escape rope. Do see the Arceus go into hand. Do you have anything else? Quick Ball should find them a second Pokemon here. Is going to be the Manaphy. That means Radiant Greninja is less appealing at the moment. Back to Victor. To deal with the Radiant Charizard, they will have to attack with something like the Radiant Greninja, for example. We saw how important the 90 damage was onto the Lugia. So huge props there on Celine for grabbing that Manaphy. For right now, not too many ideal plays. They could go for a Luminion. Luminion can attack here and put back the energy in the deck. Looks like we're going to go ahead and Luminescence, find ourselves a Chorus Experiment. There's only 1 water energy left in the deck, so Ordinary Rod plus the Mirage Gate is going to have to be the grab. Unfortunately, not quite there. Looks like we're going to grab an Escape Rope, Scoop Up Net, and a Sableye. All great cards here. 9 cards now into the Lost Zone. After a Comfey, that should be 10. So we could potentially attack with Sableye this turn. All right, again, a little bit of a debate on how to go about it, right? Yes, you get to flower selecting here. Scoop Up Net would have been huge, but Ordinary Rod's also a very important card here. But again, double Scoop Up Net is exactly what you need, because you don't want to Escape Rope here, and Radiant Charizard just has such a big retreat cost. I think the game plan they're going for here is they do want to use the Lost Mine attack. While there is a very heavy Pokemon, the active, it does protect them from plays from the Stoutland play, for example. Well, it doesn't 100% protect them, but definitely makes it a lot harder when you have to retreat a 3 retreat cost Pokemon. Looks like they're going to go back into the Comfey. Flower selecting grabs them. The switch card here, not too bad. There it is. There's the Sableye. And if they can deal with the Manaphy this turn, they're free to use Moonlight Shuriken on the following turn. And yeah, we're going to see it. We're going to see the Lost Mine here taking a knockout on the Manaphy and putting some pressure on to the Lugia V. Back to Celine again. If there was a time to Lugia V-Star, now is that time. Do they have it here? A little bit of a delay with the Lugia V-Stars for sure, because of the absolutely huge Zeraora plays. Luminion V coming into play is going to find them a supporter here. Do see an attachment for turn. Big research. Powerful colorless energy being attached to the Radiant Charizard. Not the energy you want to see on the Charizard for sure. You can see the Ultra Ball. Another Arceus in the discard pile. That's 3 now. Should guarantee the Summoning Star if Lugia V-Star is in deck. Looks like they're opting for the Stoutland. Lugia V-Star probably already in hand, unless the prizes were absolutely atrocious for Celine. Second Ultra Ball. There it is, Lugia V-Star. And I believe Stoutland... Can Stoutland attack your DTE? I don't think it can. Again, because it was powerful, colorless, and energy attached to the Radiant Charizard, they're going to have to use a DTE. Yeah. Wow. Sorry, still going through my analysis. But just like that, it's Victor A is going to be your late night number 84 champion. That means they are that much closer to Yokohama, Japan. Absolutely huge. Sorry, I was talking about earlier that because it was powerful colorless energy attached to that Radiant Charizard, made it almost impossible to power up both Stoutland and Radiant Charizard to get the attack. Again, that's why we saw it was absolutely important that Escape Rope wasn't played that second turn. Had to be a different way to switch. It had to be the Scoop Up Net or the switch card for sure. So absolutely great plays here by Victor. With that, that's unfortunately gonna be it. 3 quick games here. This was definitely a late night for the books. Very interesting metagame. I just want to go through the top 8 real quick. Yes, it's Victor A playing Lost Box. Second place, we have Selene playing Lugia and Lugia V-Star. Keenan did get third with the Eternatus VMAX, and we have a Z Attack 10 playing Mew Genesect for fourth. Benny Billinger playing Lugia, Palkia Inteleon for fifth. Jonathan Patricio, another Eternatus VMAX player, at sixth, excuse me. Leonardo Martins playing Regis at seventh, and Lock Nguyen with the Arceus Malamar VMAX at eighth. Very, very interesting top eight. I cannot wait for the Shuffle Squad videos that really go through the top eight metagame for sure. With that, again, guys, if you like what you saw here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified when new videos do come out. Again, make sure you join the late night series every Tuesday night. Not quite sure if the next one is going to be in PTCGO or PTCG Live, so make sure you follow us. Make sure you join the Discord, follow us on Twitter just to get notified when those changes. And with that, that's going to be the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, my name is PrimeTimeWizardTv.